USCP is mainly known for all of their aftermarket wheel sets, even body kits and complete body conversion kits too, but lately they have tipped their toe into the bucket of actual full kits, resin kits that is. They make completely custom designs of the actual cars and replicate that into kit form that hasn't been done before. I haven't done one in the past and I'm really excited to be doing this one right now, as this is one of the first kits out there. This is of course their Porsche 550 Spyder. They have done a Citroen a couple of months ago as well, but that didn't really tickle my fancy. Of course a Porsche does. So let's see what's in the box and talk about it a little more. So when you open the box, the thing that takes your attention straight away is the instructions. This is actually captured from an old classic Porsche notebook, I think, and it's really cool that they put it into this one, making it a really unique version. The instructions on this one are a lot better than I've seen from them in the past and go into a lot of detail. Of course, this is a full kit, so it does require a bit more than one sheet of instructions. All of them are nicely done computer generated files, probably the ones they used for the actual model itself, and are really clearly stated of how it all should go together. And of course, underneath that instruction booklet, there is some decals and the main kit itself. So let's just start off with the decals. These of course are from the James Dean version of this car, which is really famous. I'm not exactly sure if this is the one I want to build, as it has been done a lot, and that is probably the way to go without pretty much any imagination. Even though it does look good, I kind of think it's overdone again, and I don't really want to use this version, but it is cool to have these stripes included for the rear section too, so maybe I'll just use these two stripes and just leave the numbers as they are and go with a different version. But again, as I said in an earlier video, please leave a comment down below how you want to see me do this build. Should I just tackle it and keep it as original as possible, go with one of the original cars and color combinations of course, or should I just use a custom version of it, add some bigger wheels, maybe some other details? Let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are for this build. When we dive even deeper into the box, we just quickly come across the main body and chassis. Now these are mainly the pieces for the exterior and of course some for the chassis, detailed super neatly. Now this is not an incredibly detailed kit with a lot of parts, so it is pretty easy to get into as a first resin kit. A lot of the panel lines are super crisp, they are a bit small, so maybe a bit of scribing is required to make them stand out a bit more and not be buried by paint pretty quickly. Some of the interior details are shown here too, but I'm just going to pop the chassis out and show you guys even more. So on the chassis, of course, get the underside, and on the inside you have part for the interior too. There are some tubes here, a couple detail parts for the pedals, and even some structure parts for on the side. The inside of the body is pretty plain, of course, as this was a pretty bare bones car even for back then. Even though they did add a couple of details here, it still spices it up a lot. The dashboard is also mounted in there. You can just carefully take it out. It is a tight fit, so a bit of squeezing is required, but just be careful not to break it, of course. Some details again are nicely done into here. Even the smaller parts right here, you can see that they added some of the bolts and detail too. So again, the main body also looks really nice. It does need a bit of cleanup here from molding, but that is perfectly well to expect when building a resin kit. None of them are exactly perfect, so a bit of cleanup, a bit of sanding, but nothing out of the norm. Now, of course, with this being a full kit, that is not all. There are a couple more sheets with windows on there. You get different options for a full windscreen and also a small bubble for only the driver's side. So you can even pick and choose which one you want to use. Some more parts like PE parts or photo etch sheets are also included. Some decals for the gauges. I think you can choose between miles and kilometers or the other way around, but it's cool to have the option. And to add even more details, there are some seat belts, or there is some seatbelt material, some other parts all around, but I'm not really sure what these are for yet, but going through the instructions that will become clear really fast. Some of the other smaller final details, like a couple of the vents for on the rear side, for on top of the engine, even some pieces for the steering wheel, and some other parts all around are nicely done too on these photo etch sheets. There is a smaller one for a lot smaller details as well. Let's just take that out of the packaging and see what's on there. A couple of the Porsche logos, some other bits for the seat belts, and probably some buckles all included too for some of the belts that need to be put on, and a couple of the Porsche logos. The interior are a lot of parts as well. Well, not really a lot of parts, but a lot of nicely detailed parts. Some of the parts for the chassis and engine that are visible are included too, like these two exhaust pieces. Some more parts for the chassis and the steering components. Even some of the shocks are molded in one piece, though it does have a lot of the detail in it, so with a bit of paint it can look really good. Also nice that they added a left and a right in there, so you know which part is for which side. Some more detailed pieces for on the interior. These are the door panels. Of course, some seats have to be included as well. They have the nice detailing here in the back, or which one, not really sure which way it goes, but I'll figure that out soon. Not to forget, there are some wheels. These are just the main barrels. That's the inside, and this is the detailed piece for on the outside. A lot of detail and time has been put into these to make it look really well. And of course you get the hubcaps too. And there are even more parts for the details all around. A couple more pieces for the chassis, some super small details here. I think this is more for the exhaust, and of course a couple of the suspension or steering components for the front or rear. To go along with those wheels, these are the center pieces with the bolts on them, and I think these also function as the disc brakes for all around, and again super nicely detailed on the face. This backside is even detailed too, with a lot of knurling in there, or some of the venting. I'm not really sure what that is, but it's really cool to see that they've taken the time to detail it all around. Some of the other pieces for the exterior side of detailing are of course the headlight buckets. These are separate, so you can decide if you want to paint them or chrome them in a different color, of course, and again super nice detail. So there were two different versions for the windshield, a small bubble, and if you're deciding to use that small bubble, you can use this cover for the other seat, as you're basically just making it into a single seater. There are some tires to go along with the wheels, and as usual they have super neat detail in them too, on the thread side, and of course also on the sidewall wall, even having a lot of the writing on there, and they are really nice replicas of the actual tires for the car. The final sprue in this kit is for some more clear parts. You can decide again between a couple of different versions for the headlights, whichever one you want to use. I think for the taillights too, and some other lenses are included as well. Well, that was a bit too quick. There was another sprue, or another bag of sprues, with even more details. So some parts of the steering wheel are made out of photo etch and others are made out of resin, like the outer ring. There are some more parts for details on the exterior, like the door handles, some knobs for the interior, and I think this is some piece of the handbrake. Smaller detail pieces with a lot more bolts or nuts are included too. This will be a nice task to get them all in there nicely and not lose them. A rear view mirror is included too, and there is another piece here. Again, not sure, but I will figure out during the build. And then finally there are some more components for the exterior. There are some, this is the gas filler, not sure again what these are, and some other detail pieces all around. And I think this is a small fire extinguisher. And that should be it this time.